Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to Torchlight 2. So I was kind of interrupted with a phone call at the end of the last episode, so we didn't quite get back to where I wanted to be. But it's not a big deal. We'll take the waypoint back to the Salt Barrens, warp there, and then we'll figure out where we are from that spot. We are here, and I guess we are moving the main story forward. It seems like those portals just stay forever, whereas in Diablo 1 I'm pretty sure the portals disappeared after a while. We'll go ahead and summon our robot. That'll be another thing we can keep an eye on as far as just, do we regain our mana? This whole area is probably 100% empty as far as the new enemies, any new enemies outside of this one little main story section. We've also made a little bit of progress on the robot parts, and that we now have 2 of them. I wouldn't be surprised if there's as many as 7 though to collect in total. And we just have, it looks like, a guardian, maybe a genie. Yeah. Locate the genie in the Salt Barrens, that's exactly what it is. So, talk to him.
Greetings, oh insignificant one. Ah, yes, I know of this artificer. He came to me seeking the secret of binding a guardian. But I refused his entreaties. Instead, he turned to my ancient foe, the despicable Ezrek Khan, who was all too eager to teach him such abominable rituals. Of course, whatever Ezrek Khan has done, I can undo.
So I guess we had to have this conversation, and then that's going to open a new area, and we'll move to another section, I guess.
The artificer and the alchemist might be formidable.
2 A-named enemies is a mistake.
Nothing more than parlor tricks to one such as me. I can easily undo anything that they have done to your guardian. I will, of course, require something in return. My only real enemy in this desert is boredom. I will make you a bargain. Perform 3 tasks for my amusement. If your struggles provide suitable entertainment, then, and only then, will I free the guardian.
So this quest giver is
Journey to the Sadwa Mesa and recover my Lamp of Wonders from the Tutara.
giving you kind of what feels like pointless quests, but also he might just be a bad guy. We've already, though, run into one quest giver who feels like a bad guy. We've already been through all of these areas, so in a lot of games, what would happen is that they would have respawned some enemies, and that would have made it a little bit more interesting. In this game, no respawning of enemies, instead just a cave unlocking that I didn't even see the cave. And certainly there's a level of darkness here that I don't appreciate. And I just don't think anything is actually going to fix the brightness issue. For a second there, I thought we weren't going to run into anybody to fight. And I was like, well, this will be a odd dungeon if it is just unit chests or things like that. Advisor here, and much more of a danger than Aruk himself. And Aruk's routinely more of a challenge because he stays further back.
You have become more skillful.
It looks like that is going to be everything here, really. It was just a tiny little cave. Doesn't look like there's any secret pathways, which is what seems like where you find the robot parts, is that there's secret pathways in some of the bigger caves, and so I need to keep an eye out for them. Right, meanwhile, they're just continuously looking to do damage. Yeah. See if we could get this naturally up by 5. Get our vitality up by 1, and then I'm just putting everything up as far as attack. I guess maybe have to go back and talk to the guy. Or maybe we just follow. So at this point, even the game is wasting your time by making you walk back and forth. And I imagine this whole section here is kind of artistically created. This feels like that. And that this genie is always on an island with no other enemies.
So, you retrieved the Lamp of Wonders. Your pitiful struggles do provide some small entertainment after all. You can throw that piece of junk away. It's just a lamp with a pretentious name. It doesn't actually do anything. Although I suppose you could put some oil in it and use it to provide light. This second task should prove much more amusing.
I wonder if the 3 items we're going to get is going to eventually trap him in the lamp.
You survived the Tutara more or less in one piece. Congratulations. But it occurs to me that you didn't do anything that you wouldn't ordinarily have done. This second task should prove much more amusing. Step through the portal. Your second task is to survive.
You have received a quest.
So we don't have our robot right now. Let's summon that. And while we're at it, we can start to think about some of these items. Just to see if there's anything special here. Elf still on hit. Yeah. I'm still being iffy about whether I want to replace this, because it just doesn't have that increased magic find luck. It doesn't have that increased gold find. I wish there was just a higher level of this weapon, or a way to level up the weapon. So when I go through here, will I have my robot with me? No. That's pretty obvious. I could have guessed that that was going to be the case. And then we're just gonna stay within the light. Okay. Which means that gold that we just saw, we can't pick up. And is that all this is stay within the light? And don't be greedy. Do I take damage or do I instantly die if I lose the light? It would be a little unfair if I instantly died the second I fell out of the light. So they're playing with the whole Aladdin Disney movie thought here by being in a cave of wonders full of piles of gold I can't pick up, full of piles of gold that are just decorative. Of course, I find that kind of irritating in that there are effectively piles of gold that could have been practical in the sense that instead of having 20 piles of gold, we could have had a one large pile of gold in many cases. This is moving faster, so really I'm just having to run and take the damage. And yes, I'm playing this on easy, but it does just kind of feel like anybody. Oh, wow. I guess in this case we'll just resurrect in the town. So just like really quickly, I took damage, and this was a concern that was going to happen, is that eventually I would find a scenario where the amount of damage you take is just going to be too high, too fast. And I don't know if I really made any progress there or if it's just a full-on restart. Did I run out of mana at some point? Feels like we probably did pick up several items. Now we are just doing it a second time. Which means maybe enemies won't appear. Although, if that was the case, then chests respawning. If anything, it kind of feels like even the drops are the same. So maybe this whole experience is the same. definitely comes off as more of a artistic experience. It'd be a little bit more fair if the enemies also took damage or not in the light. So I keep a much higher look on my health this time, obviously. It would be irritating, to say the least, to end up going through this a third time. And I guess what I'll try and do is stay away from blades. There's a whole pattern here where I was supposed to be wiggling back and forth between. We'll just ignore the club hammer. Still want to keep an eye on my health. See, I don't know if that's specifically a timer or what. Interesting. It does seem like we don't have to be in the light now. And I appreciate that. Probably should keep an eye on my health still. Still around? I don't think it is. Nope, it was. So we've just got a big arena section here where the floor increases in potentially multiple directions. Back from Anticore, even. That's a nice little throwback. It's weird that the map is not really showing you anything. So I guess the question is, do we think we missed out on too much? I'd say probably not. We're probably fine. Plus, I don't think there's really an opportunity to go back and pick up anything we missed. Maybe that chest at the very end would have given us any item drop that was rather important, but I don't think any of it really is that important. Let's deal with our inventory before we deal with anything else. First of all, let's just double check to make sure we didn't accidentally put anything here that we would want to keep. And then once we're satisfied at that level, we will fill up our dog's inventory. We've gotten a new spell for our dog that's supposed to reduce the amount of time that your pet takes traveling to and fro. 19 physical armor versus 6% gold find. I think I want 6% gold find. Very fast sword, 282 versus 236. Just does a lot less as far as side things. We have another vizier item.
Your pet's pack is full. Your pet has departed.
A minute and 31 seconds instead of 2 minutes. Now, it's not a terrible trade. Increase magic find by 3%. Let's see. Okay, so it's finally time to get rid of the skull. As soon as we can wear this, which would be level 39. What level are we at right now? 37. So we'll have to level up 2 more times because we're definitely not going to get our focus up that high. And then we will replace the skull and we'll put 6% physical armor in it, I suspect. Yeah. Do we have anything else we can do while we're waiting for the dog to return in 20 seconds? Not much. I guess we'll go talk to the genie.
So, you finally found your way out. You are the most entertaining diversion I've found in 1,000 years.
Your pet is back from town.
You'll be needing one final
So
task.
you have a very kind of Disney inspired, there's our pet over there, kind of cartoony Aladdin style genie and events here, but then the actual quests don't feel that Disney-fied. It just feels like it should have gone the next step, and I don't know how you really would have done that before you're starting to cross a very big gap into not actually killing enemies and instead knocking them out, which honestly that probably is the next step that the Torchlight should have done. If it had just been like a Splatoon style game where you're knocking people out instead of killing them, they're dropping items as they run away, and that you just reduced the blood and gore and violence, then Torchlight would stand very different from the Diablo game series that it's clearly copying. But because it didn't do that, you're kind of in this mushy middle where it feels a little cartoony in the animation style, which just makes it feel a little cheap, but then the actual gameplay is just as brutal as playing Diablo, and the visuals aren't as interesting because they're not going for that dark, creepy visuals.
Well, you are much more determined and capable than I had suspected. Excellent. If you truly wish to free the Guardian, you must humiliate my old rival, Ezra Khan, by stealing his precious lamp of mark.
received a quest.
So we have another portal. Notice how the dog just magically teleported as soon as he was not on the screen. And so I'm assuming that this is going to just be a standard dungeon. Although it is weird that we have amalgamations or tentacles. And giant tentacles too. So there is this like Cthulhu-esque elements that the story could have gone deeper into if they really wanted to go that way. Some of these giant tentacles clearly are just art decorations there. Both in the foreground and the background. In recent years, there's been some paths that have opened, really, towards getting away from your Western fantasy style characters, such as elves and goblins and ghouls. What I generally describe as the Tolkien-esque fantasy that you would see in Lord of the Rings, and those types of creatures. The idea of cryptids has never really been implemented well, as far as just making up new kind of monsters. The Japanese style monsters have started to become somewhat more used, particularly from Japanese game developers. Both cryptids and a lot of the Japanese style modern creatures are very young creations. SCPs have become somewhat popular in the past 4 or 5 years as far as the idea of creating new monsters in boogeyman stories. The problem mostly though with SCPs is they are not really consistently creatures that follow any consistent logic. But it does definitely seem like... Can I not just hit this? Apparently not. So you just get these like orbs that will just attack you. Yeah. I just don't see any way to actually hit it. Yeah, I could definitely see a game with cryptids or SCPs being your monster class. Of course, you could also potentially make a game like this on more of the universal monster sets of older style monsters, your vampires, your werewolves. I wouldn't say what they're saying right now is particularly cliche in itself. These are taking influence from Cthulhu-esque stories, but then maybe a little bit of influence from Half-Life, Crab Heads. the thing, of course, is that there's very few games like this still being made. So new styles of monsters are ending up in new styles of games too. So I'm kind of assuming that it's the case that I died in the previous area because I ran over a lot of booby traps. And so I'm assuming also that there isn't a way to avoid taking booby trap damage. So I'm not gonna look for increasing my vitality just for that reason, or looking for some kind of passive skill. That was booby trapped in a very different way. And interesting, the tentacle did just try to attack me. So it's not so much decoration only. Well, we don't have music playing right now. We have, well, it's kind of a just few subtle notes of music is playing right now. Enough that you might not recognize it as music, as I just didn't. It's not total silence like when the music engine crashed before, which is, I assume, what happened. I think a lot of games, even brand new ones, are not play tested in long runs. That they potentially just reload sections after an hour or two and test them again, maybe even reboot the whole computer then after an hour or two. Causes longer memory leaks that never really be caught or never fixed if they are caught. There might be an assumption in a lot of games that is very accurate that you would never, most players would never play a game for hours on end without exiting the game and reloading, which would never highlight memory leaks if that was the case. But this is kind of the exact kind of game where you would potentially play it for hours on end. As sad as it is to say, this is a kind of game that led to early generations of claims of overgaming, gaming addiction, and just people spending too much time playing games. Because clearly this is not a game designed to give you a respectful 1 hour experience and then go to bed. It is clearly designed to enthrall you with a habit forming with repetition. If you don't have the wherewithal to fight impulse. Although, because it's so repetitive, it's also not particularly that interesting. Okay. Armor up, by one. Or dodge wouldn't go up at all. Or everything just to get one more damage. One, 2, 3 gives us a natural 60 plus 10. And we'll throw the rest in there. And then time to clear out our inventory. I'm still not up high enough in level to wear that. The rest of us actually should be fairly easy. Say no to. Gotta be careful about putting down socketable items, because the item you might be clicking on to replace it with might have a socket. Still thinking about maybe this, but I'd have to enchant it quite a bit if that was going to be the case. Looks like we cleared this area. So, I guess as we are about to just take on the boss fight. Not quite yet. To chase down his sword, I guess. It seemed to me like I could have just teleported to another area. This guy has an area of effect and pretty strong knockback. Since this is waves of different enemies, I'm assuming I'm making progress here. direct attacks are barely hurting him at all. So this is where increasing my attack really would come into more helpful. And see, the Eye of Ezra Khan obviously is a unique item that we would only get in that one move. So here, I guess that's where we started and we teleported up. So it's just a really small area. Alright. That makes sense. We'll look around and just make sure that there's nothing else, which it looks like there isn't. So now we talk to the other genie.
Everything has transpired exactly as I intended. I have my lamp of mornings. At last, I am free. I confess, this lamp is much more valuable than you could have known. Ezra Khan stole it from me ages ago. And now that I have them both, I have my freedom and ultimate power over my own life. As for your guardian, defeating Ezra Khan has sufficiently weakened the magic they bound her with. You should be able to confront her now. I have honored my bargain.
Okay. So, we have a Badlands set here that we basically have to take. So we'll take it. And then we're warping back to Zarafesh. Which puts us in this spot.
Hey, today only.
And I suppose if we had a massive amount of gold, we might start to think about gambling for items. But kind of doesn't make sense, because if you're going to gamble for something, you would probably go for something like these items. Things that would be expensive, but not that expensive. Okay. There's nothing
How may I serve you?
Purchase here.
How may I serve you?
Unless we were short on something.
Hail, hero.
Okay. So we have a unique thing that I can put in a weapon. Chance to shock for 5 seconds. As far as unique socketable, we have better boots than what we have, but it requires a class of Outlander. Again, you gotta be careful about putting socketed items on socketable. Let's just go through all the other items and see if there's anything particularly special. The augments on these weapons are not big enough for it to matter. So here's our Badlands set. We'll keep that. And then this gun is completely useless. I should replace it with something else. But yeah, if I am gonna have a second lineup of something, it would hopefully be something of some value. I guess this blue would be about the only thing to consider over here, which I've already considered those. Alright, let's look at the new items. Let's see if we have any new set items to purchase. Whoa. I mean, we're basically only looking for unique weapons. So they'd have to be orange. Otherwise, I don't think a weapon would be part of a set. It says you can have 7 items in some of these sets, but you could kind of do that with a necklace and a ring, and just 3 here and 3 here. In fact, you probably would just have a helmet and these 3 and these 3 to make a 7 set. Okay. And then let's go ahead and put another thing into doing more damage. Don't have anything to transmute other than, I guess at a certain point here we could start to transmute that.
Fortune favors you. Fortune smiles upon you. You are fortunate. Fortune favors you.
We can do that. We can do
Fortune
that.
smiles upon you. Fortune smiles upon you.
Just a couple times. Just one off. Can't do that. Can't do that. So there are other recipes, I would assume, that can be done. But I have no idea what they would be. And let's see, 2, 2, 1. Enchant that.
You are fortunate.
Extra health. 2.
You are fortunate.
Physical armor. 3, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. So that's the maximum amount of enchantments we can do.
Fortune smiles on you.
So now this is 1% increase gold find. That's great.
Fortune smiles upon you.
14% ice damage. But you could take that off and then do that.
Fortune favors you.
And then 1% all damage instead. Interesting. Can enchant socketables. And yeah, I don't think it would be really worth it to take off enchantments of anything else. In fact, I may still be in a very bad position financially. The only quest we have right now is the robot parts quest. So this is going to be our new quest giver.
By slaying Ezra Khan, you broke the enchantment used to enslave the guardian of Mana. That means you can defeat her without destroying her. The Ezra here have moved the guardian to the fortress of Richkin in the Salt Barrens, where they are marshalling their forces for the assault on Zarephash. Go, fight past the Ezra here and free the guardian.
You have received a quest.
So before we do that, I guess it will make more sense to run back here.
Welcome, friend.
probably wasting my time looking at anything. This sales keep. Because, well, kind of doesn't seem like it is that bad of an idea, though. It does just seem like these sales items are somewhat leveled up, too. What I have been finding elsewhere in the other store. Maybe we'll come back to this area later for a larger challenge. There's no new shopkeepers. 20% bonus to critical or vitality. So in this socket, with the magic luck find, it's going to be either 26% physical armor or plus 6%, 26 points to physical armor, which is different. Yeah, I don't like the fact that it's points, but I'm going to go with that one. This one, I feel like I'm gonna just put here, and then let's just make that trade-off from the 160 to the 236. Okay. We have an Outlander piece, which both of these are Outlanders. So we have yet another Outlander set. We will take one of these with us and transmute it. I guess we're keeping our weakest weapons here. Okay, so we have a level 23 Asteria. Not to be confused with Ariza level 30. Badlands Asteria. I have 3 pieces of this level 23. Increase gold find, increase gold find, increase gold find. None of these pieces, however, are actually useful. And this one probably isn't sellable, because I'm going to start running out of room at some point. Next we have Zir. So yeah, the real argument is going to be to sell. I have only 2 pieces of the Vizier set. Badlands. We have only 3 pieces of that set. Those are level 26. Yeah. this Azori would be the only set really to consider replacing things with, and it seems like we're more than likely just going to end up doing alchemy, or doing, not alchemy, but unique items instead. Who knows, we may come back and find ways to add more sockets to items, then we might have a better setup. I guess we're just selling.
Have we met?
One, two, three.
Fortune favors you.
Increase cast speed. That's going to be completely useless for me. There's a danger of trying to hold on to these unique boots and not being willing to move up to a full set. This outlaw set is, I don't think, one we're actually ever going to get all the pieces for, but we're still using it. We enchanted everything. Did we enchant this? We can't enchant it any higher. Nor can we afford to take off a poison damage enchantment, going for something else. But I do think that is where our money is going to start going. Is that we'll gamble back and forth. So it feels to me, whoops, hit the wrong button there and that caused me to jump. Which I didn't realize that's what that did, actually. Feels to me like that story part would have been designed to force us through this whole area to take on new enemies the second time in this dynamic pathway. But no, I should have just taken the warp, because now I am wasting way too much time wandering an empty section to then travel to the next section. One enemy we missed. And I guess if there was some kind of bonus for killing 100% of all the enemies in an area, that might make sense. But it makes a lot more sense for there to simply have been a more difficult experience. We've already done this Netherlands portal. I don't expect it would be any different. So yeah, just a big empty spot. So once again, whenever we enter an area, it seems like we will respawn. I guess this is probably as good of a place as any to end. We get one more level, and then I can use this ring, increase our magic find, to then just try and get more unique items to increase our magic find. It is kind of crazy, because all you're really doing is looking for items to find more items to look for items to find more items. Let's see, this is level 2. Haste. Level 3. Same spell we already have. Doesn't seem like you can transmute spells. Our stats are good, but it does feel to me like they are hitting kind of a plateau where you really can't get your damage much higher without just increasing your base weapon damage. Yeah. So on the left hand at least, it seems like I'm going to do 269 damage most of the time, and then if I get a critical I do 525 damage. It seems like it's very difficult to get the dodge chance to go up by much more. It seems like it's kind of insignificant to increase your armor bonus via vitality. So as we're potentially approaching the end of the second act of what is probably a 3-act game, we do have this possibility of the last act just being a point where you throw all of your skill points into strength. His damage from our dog is massively high. I mean, really kind of higher than what I'm doing. His HP is actually kind of high too. His HP is 6,302. My HP is 2,298. I have 119 magic points. He has 210. The pet is way stronger than I am. His armor is way higher than I am. So, who should really be the leader between the two of us when we look at that? With the exception of robot parts, we haven't found any other side quests, whereas it feels like there should have been several side quests that we've come and done. I was gonna take off the helmet and just see what that does. Yeah. Guess it makes the character look a little bit more interesting. So you're still wearing the helmet and getting the defense of it, you're just visually not displaying that. Although if you were going to go through that logic, then why not also be able to take off all of the equipped equipment to show a default costume. Obviously the game wouldn't let you take off all the clothes and just run around in a loincloth or anything, but yeah, there's definitely some Dark Souls games where you can run around like that. I suppose Dark Souls is also a apt game to compare to something like this, where the Demon Souls, Dark Souls, Bloodborne type games have become the new style of games that's not too different from this, where you have large collections of bosses and large groups of enemies. The big difference being, in a Diablo-esque game, it's usually a top-down perspective, and it's usually also a case where the number of enemies are fairly weak and easy to defeat, where Demon Souls, Dark Souls type games are very difficult bosses with very precise movements, definitely designed more for a controller than a mouse and keyboard. So, yeah, fairly large difference, but mostly you are running around, still attacking enemies, still getting pieces of armor and equipment, still leveling up. The core game mechanics haven't changed that much. Anyways, that's going to be it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and keep on watching. Thanks.